A man once accused of witchcraft is now the president of Seychelles. Patrick Herminie, ridiculed, charged and written off, has just defeated incumbent Wavel Ramkalawan in a runoff election that stunned not only his nation but the entire continent.
I got 52%, 53%, so 47% did not support me. But the country cannot be run on 50% of its population. So we will use everybody, integrate everybody, and in return we expect loyalty and integrity. The country comes first.
It is not just an election result, it is a political statement echoing far beyond the turquoise waters of the Indian Ocean. And if listened closely, the same rhythm is pushing in Kenya's streets, where the Wantam Movement grows louder each day. For Wavel Ramkalawan, this is a poetic collapse. Once a symbol of reform, he came to power in 2020 on promises of transparency and unity. But 5 years later, Seychelles, like much of Africa, was suffocating under rising prices, declining services, and fading faith in leadership.
I want to remind you that when I leave the presidency, you said probably this is our last. No, it will not be, because I will stand strong to defend the people of Seychelles against any form of tyranny, any form of victimization, and any form of injustice.
Ramkalawan's greatest miscalculation was not policy, it was perception. He forgot the power of public mood. In small island politics, perception is everything. When the cost of living climbs faster than wages, people start whispering one word: change. And change came through a man few expected to survive, let alone win.
Of course, I'm feeling very happy, but I'm not surprised at all the results, because the mood in the country was one for change. I think people had enough of the high cost of living, of the perception of a lack of basic human rights being respected, freedom of speech and stuff like that, the role of the army in policy, and several other issues.
Patrick Herminie's story reads like a modern African political parable. Once the parliamentary speaker, his career imploded when he was charged with witchcraft in 2023. It was the perfect scandal, mysterious, scandalous, and politically convenient. But Herminie did not just fight the charges, he reframed them. In his narrative, he became a victim of elite fear, a man punished for daring to dream of power. By 2024, the charges were dropped, but something had changed. The people now saw him as a fighter, not perfect, not polished, but real. His campaign was built around simplicity: lower the cost of living, fix broken public services, and restore national pride. In an age of polished rhetoric, Herminie spoke plainly, and it worked. Under Herminie, United Seychelles, the once dominant party that lost control in 2020, re-emerged as a grassroots machine. They did not campaign with lavish billboards, they mobilized communities. Their rallies felt less like political events and more like movements. By the time the parliamentary elections arrived, the signs were clear. The tide was turning. United Seychelles swept a parliamentary majority, and weeks later, Herminie sealed the presidency with 52.7% of the vote. It was not just victory, it was vindication. Now here is where it gets interesting, because the same energy that swept Herminie to victory is quietly brewing in Kenya's Wantam Movement. Wantam, a slang born from Gen Z frustration, captures the collective defiance against political deceit, corruption, and generational exclusion. It is not just protest, it is perspective. The same hunger that drove Seychelles voters to reject Ramkalawan mirrors Kenya's restless youth demanding transparency and dignity. From Mombasa to Kisumu, the chant is familiar: we want change, real change. Seychelles just showed it can happen. peacefully, decisively, democratically. Across the continent, the pattern is unmistakable. In Malawi, Lazarus Chakwera voted out. In Zambia, Edgar Lungu dethroned. In Senegal, Macky Sall humbled. Now Seychelles joins the chorus, a small nation adding a mighty verse to Africa's song of discontent. And this trend is not just political, it is generational. The youth no longer fear power, they demand accountability from it. What Herminie did on his island could be a test run for what Kenyans might soon do at home. Patrick Herminie's win is not merely about numbers, it is about narrative. It is proof that political persecution can backfire, that authenticity can defeat incumbency, and that no amount of elite coordination can outmatch collective conviction.
Of course, I'm feeling very happy, but I'm not surprised at all the results, because the mood in the country was one for change. I think people had enough of the high cost of living, of the perception of a lack of basic human rights being respected, freedom of speech and stuff like that, the role of the army in policy, and several other issues.
It is the same conviction we see in Kenya's new social consciousness, whether in protest, online movements, or the silent revolution of young voters who have stopped cheering and started questioning.
Kazi yao ni kutukana William Ruto. Kazi yao ni matusi.
You can't be partyless, voiceless, leaderless and voteless.
Tu mambo ya kuongea barabarani na huna mpango yoyote.
Seychelles just turned a political page that the rest of Africa cannot afford to ignore. When citizens rise above fear, when youth reclaim belief, even a nation of 100,000 people can inspire millions. The question now is, who is next? Because the tide that lifted Patrick Herminie might just be heading towards Nairobi. Or what do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Newsroom, Maisha TV, Reader, Kering Chebet.